Buongiorno and welcome to another edition of Meet Your Neighbor. My name is Ron Falconi and I live here in the city of Brunswick, which was named as one of the top 10 towns in America for families according to Family Circle magazine. I live here with my family in the Fairway subdivision of our great city, and I had this idea back in the fall of 2006 where I wanted to interview local politicians, local business people, so all of you could have the opportunity to meet your neighbor. We have a very special guest today. He is my friend, and he is also our state senator here in the city of Brunswick, and his name is Larry Obhof. Senator Obhof, welcome to the studios.
Well, thank you, Ron. It's good to be here.
How are you doing today, Senator?
I'm doing very well.
Great. Senator, can you tell us something about yourself maybe that not too many people know about you?
Sure. I am a certified barbecue judge.
You're a barbecue judge?
I actually took a class with the Kansas City Barbecue Society. I didn't tell you before we went on the air, so I can surprise you with that.
I am surprised. Well, I know that you had was it the grill or some kind of...
I have a number of different things. I have several grills, I have several smokers, and I actually have a specialized pig roaster. So
I think there was a pig roaster that you told me about
if anybody
before.
wants to do a barbecue out there, we've got the equipment for it.
So you had to take a class?
I did. The greatest class ever, actually. You spend about 6 or 7 hours studying different types of barbecue.
Oh, wow.
And then testing out your judging skills by eating very good barbecue and then world championship barbecue to see if you can tell the difference between the two. So, very interesting experience.
That is. Hey, Larry, are you originally from this area?
I grew up in Ashtabula County.
Oh, okay.
Still in northeast Ohio, not too far from here. My parents have a family farm there that's been in our family for a few generations, and I moved here about 10 years ago for what I thought was a one-year job to work for Alice Batchelder. She's actually a federal judge, and she's the chief judge right now of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And just loved Medina so much that we sort of stuck around. So
that's good.
It's a great town. We were looking to start a family a number of years ago and decided this is where we wanted to do it.
Okay. When you said we, who are we?
My wife Nicole and I have been together since we were kids.
Okay.
So, and we have 3 daughters right now.
You have 3. Okay.
Gabrielle, Lily, and Annabelle, who's 7 months old.
Oh, wow. Hey, you mentioned that you grew up in Ashtabula. Can you tell us about your educational background?
Sure. I went to St. John's High School in Ashtabula and went to Ohio State for undergrad, where I got degrees in political science, economics, and history. And then I went to Yale for law school and then moved back to Ohio after I finished.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Larry, can you tell, our past guests have included county commissioners and a judge. I think you're probably the first sitting state senator that I've had on the show. Can you tell people who are watching right now in Brunswick Hills, Wadsworth Township, or maybe people watching on the internet, what does a state senator do? And when I say state senator, that doesn't mean you go to Washington, D.C., does it?
No, we actually meet in Columbus in the State House. And I guess there's 2 ways to answer that. The more accurate way, which is probably less interesting to viewers, is to say we have a lot of meetings. But we pass laws that focus on state-level issues.
On the state of Ohio.
Mm-hmm. And so we deal with the budget for the state of Ohio, which is roughly $55 billion this last time around, how to disperse state tax money. And some of that, as you know, through your role as a member of City Council, involves helping to fund local governments, deciding which state-level programs we're going to put tax money into, a lot of things like that. We deal with substantive criminal law in a lot of different areas. That's one area that I've been focused on. I'm vice chairman of the Judiciary Committee, so we deal with all elements of civil law and criminal law. So we've had some pretty major reforms in that area in the last 2 years. And we deal with regulations of a lot of different things. I serve on the Financial Institutions Committee, so we deal with regulating banks and those types of bodies. And we also have an insurance committee that regulates the insurance industry and similar areas.
Larry, so you said you were on the Judicial Committee? the financial
Financial institutions.
Are there any other committees that you serve on?
I'm on education. And one that's called Government Oversight and Reform, which is kind of a catch-all for a lot of different regulatory areas. But one big one that we were involved in this year was the new gambling regulations for the casinos that are opening this year.
Yes. You are the state senator for Ohio's, it's the 22nd Senate District. Can you tell us what areas, I know it encompasses Brunswick, what other areas does it encompass?
Currently, the 22nd District covers all of Medina County, all of Wayne County, all of Holmes County, and about 2/3 of Ashland. Beginning January 1st of next year, and so on this fall's ballot, actually, for people who are campaigning this year, the district will include all of Medina County, all of Ashland County, all of Richland County, and then about 1/3 of Holmes County.
Okay, okay. Larry, how did you get involved in politics?
It's sort of interesting. I've been involved in politics a long time. I started volunteering for some people's campaigns when I was a teenager. The summer after I graduated high school, I spent about half that summer working for a state senate campaign up in Lake and Ashtabula County, and was active in a number of organizations when I was in college, and some campaigns after that, helping other people get elected. In my current position, it's sort of just being in the right place at the right time. Bob Gibbs, who is now going to be representing part of Medina County again in Congress, was a state senator who represented the 22nd District. And in 2010, he was elected to Congress. And because of that, there was a vacancy in the state Senate. And I was appointed after a pretty thorough review process. I think about a dozen people applied for the opening, and we went through 2 rounds of interviews, and I was appointed to fill out the rest of Bob's term.
Okay, okay.
And now I'm running to keep the seat for the next full term.
Okay. Well, Senator, what do you see as some of the more important issues facing the state of Ohio right now?
I think that by far the most important issue facing the state is jobs and the economy.
Okay.
And I think if you look at what we've tried to accomplish as a group in Columbus over the last 2 years, we've really stayed focused on that. We deal with other issues, and some of the bills that I've been involved in have dealt with other issues as well. But I think that overall, a lot of other issues don't matter as much if you can't feed your family, if you can't put a roof over your head.
That's true.
And so what we've tried to do is really change the way the economy works in Ohio to get people working again. And if you look back over the last 10 years or so at what's happened to our state, taxes were too high, government was too big, we had far too many regulations. In some cases, you had 2 or 3 or even 4 regulations covering the exact same activity. So that if you were a small business and you wanted to expand or you wanted to do something specific, you had to go to 4 different bureaucrats to get them to sign off before you were allowed to. And what we've tried to do in the last 2 years is make it easier so that you can worry about selling your product, building your business, hiring more people, trying to be successful, and really focus on the things that matter for your business instead of focusing on government regulation and red tape. I can give you a quick list of some of the things that we've done. I think that we're moving in the right direction. Ohio lost about 600,000 jobs in the prior 10 years. That actually sped up in the last 4 years. Prior to us taking office at the beginning of 2011, we had lost over 400,000 jobs in 4 years. And what we did at the outset was try to move in the direction of freer markets and make Ohio a place where if you wanted to roll up your sleeves and work hard and invest your time or your money, you could actually see some benefits from that. And so we lowered taxes. We had a very difficult budget last year. We had about, depending on who you ask, between $6 and $8 billion less than we needed.
Okay.
But we were able to balance the budget without raising taxes. We actually phased in the final portion of an income tax cut that had been sort of put on the back burner for several years. So we had hundreds of millions of dollars in income tax cuts. We got rid of the death tax. which was something in this area that is harming small businesses and harming family farms. We created a tax incentive program called Invest Ohio to promote investments in small businesses. And within the first few months after that program was opened, we had hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in small businesses that qualified for the program. So I think that helped. And we did something that I was pretty heavily involved in called Jobs Ohio.
Okay.
Essentially, if you look back for the last few decades, economic development in Ohio has been a function of the Department of Development. So you have a government bureaucracy in charge of economic development, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And what we wanted was something that was leaner and meaner and more efficient and was run not by politicians looking for another title, but actually by people who've been successful in the private sector.
Right.
People who've created jobs, who understand how the economy works, and who were willing to do the same thing for the state of Ohio. So we created a nonprofit called Jobs Ohio that essentially will act as a venture capital fund for the state of Ohio. That will try to promote economic growth, try to get businesses to move here, try to help businesses that are starting up here, and try to keep businesses that are here, staying in Ohio instead of moving to other states.
Okay. That's great.
So, and if you look at the results, I think things have worked out pretty well. Government hasn't created any jobs. We don't do that, but what we do is get out of the way and help people who want to work hard in the private sector succeed by getting rid of some of the unnecessary regulations. And we've had about 100,000 new jobs in the state of Ohio since the beginning of last year. And last month we were second in the country. The month before that we were second in the country in new job growth. And we're responsible for about 25% of all the new jobs nationwide.
Wow.
So we've got a long way to go. We're starting down about 600,000 from where we'd like to be, but we're moving in the right direction.
Larry, it seems like you have a lot on your plate there when you're working as a state senator. What are some of the things that you like to do for fun?
As I mentioned before, actually, I like to barbecue a lot.
Yes.
And not just grilling barbecue, but taking your time, slow smoking something for 12 hours.
What brought about the interest in barbecuing?
Just sort of random. Once you've had good, slow smoked hickory barbecue, it's tough to not want that once a week, every week. So. Most weekends, I'll cook a pork shoulder or beef brisket is something else I'm a big fan of.
You're making me hungry now.
and I actually like cooking brisket in part because it's delicious, but in part because it's more difficult, and you want to challenge yourself, and it's a tougher piece of meat to cook properly. I have 3 daughters, as I mentioned before,
yes.
And I spend a lot of time with them. We like to go to the park, go on walks, things like that. So we do a lot of things together, and I try to work them into events as much as possible. I don't have a lot of spare time, I'll say.
Sure. No, I can understand.
I'm also an attorney, and so balancing the 2 jobs and being a parent, sometimes you try to make them overlap as much as possible.
So you're a state senator and an attorney. How do you do it, man?
I don't sleep a lot. I drink a lot of coffee, and I stay up very late.
So do you still practice?
I do. I practice at Baker Hostetler in Cleveland,
okay.
Which is a large national firm. I have a pretty interesting practice. Some of it is the standard sort of things that you would see from lawyers at a firm that size.
Okay.
A lot of it actually is constitutional law.
Okay.
It's very, very unique practice, I guess. I was part of the legal team that represented the 26 states that challenged the president's health care law.
Yes.
At least at the district court level. I did a lot of the briefing involved in that case, and was in Florida. I didn't argue the case, but I was in Florida for the original round of oral arguments on that when the district court found that the law was unconstitutional. Obviously, since then, the Supreme Court has disagreed, but we had some success early on.
Yes.
And I do a lot of work related to issues like that. It's sort of Like I said, sort of a unique practice. I do some First Amendment work,
Okay.
some federalism-related work, like the healthcare lawsuit, where states and the federal government disagree about something, and I do some things, related to other public policy issues. So a lot of my interests tie in together.
That's good. Larry, for all of my guests on the show, I like to play a game of fill in the blank. Okay.
Sure.
When I was a child, I blank.
I had 5 brothers.
5 brothers.
Another thing I kept secret, I guess. And yeah, we used to play baseball in the backyard, and we could almost field. At least when you're little, you don't need somebody at every base. We could almost make a game out of it.
That's true.
So.
Are you the middle child, oldest, youngest?
I am the second oldest.
Second oldest.
But there's very little differentiation in age, I think. The oldest and the youngest are probably only about 10 years apart.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, that's good. The one place I want to travel to is blank.
There's a lot of places because I haven't been very many, but I think if you're within the United States, my favorite place is outside of Ohio, because there's a lot of great places here, and,
Sure.
and for anyone who's watching, a lot of great bed and breakfasts in Holmes County. The 22nd District has
yes.
some very good tourism. I lived in Chicago briefly, and I enjoyed going there. And if I had time, that's one of the places that I would go.
Chicago's a beautiful city.
It is, and nearby, and has a lot of the Midwestern values that we have here in Ohio. San Francisco I've been to a few times, and is a great place that I enjoy going. I think Portland, Maine has been pretty interesting.
Oh.
And if it's someplace I haven't been in the United States, I'd say Seattle.
Seattle?
Would be a place that I'd like to check out sometime.
Why Seattle?
I'm not really sure. It's the farthest point in the country that I haven't been to, I guess. But and from what I hear, I would like the weather there a lot. I think. I think over on the West Coast and the northern side of the country, it's a little colder and
Yes.
and a little more like what we get here in Ohio in the fall, which is my favorite time of the year by far. Outside of the country, there's just too many different places. But I think at some point I'd like to go to Rome.
Rome?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd like to see some of the history.
All of the, I'm thinking just a lot of the people here in the city of Brunswick know that I love Italy and I love Rome. So, but yeah, I've been there several times and I would love to go back to Rome again.
Well, if I ever make it out there, I'll ask you for some pointers.
Please, please. I love Italy. So, Larry, when I retire, I blank.
I probably won't retire. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe when I retire, I'll have one job instead of balancing 2 or 3. But I imagine that there'd be some relaxation involved. But for now, I'm just happy doing what I'm doing, and I'd like to be able to do it for a very long time. I think I love practicing law, and I love my job, and what I'm doing in Columbus, I think we're doing some really good work, and certainly, at least for the near future, hope to be able to continue to do that.
Larry, can you give any neighborly advice to people who are watching right now in Brunswick, Brunswick Hills, Wadsworth Township, or the internet?
Sure. Well, I'd say for anyone in any of those areas, stay engaged in your community. We've got great communities up here, and people really care about each other, and know that Ohio is getting better. We've had some tough times in the last 10 years, and as I mentioned before,
Yes.
we had some really tough times, like a lot of the country did, for about 3 or 4 years, not that long ago. But we're on the upswing. We're headed in the right direction. We've got more than 100,000 new jobs in the last 18 months, and things are getting better. We've got a long way to go to get where we want to be, but Ohio is moving in the right direction.
Senator Larry Obhof, thank you for coming to Brunswick.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. My name is Ron Falconi, and I am the host of Meet Your Neighbor. I wanted to thank my friend, Senator Larry Obhof, for coming down to the studios today and chatting with us. I doubt there's anything more profound to be said, so my name is Ron Falconi. I am signing off. Arrivederci.